Welcome back to Orange Hat Reviews, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. So, episode 68 of Mystery Reviews. Can everyone hear me? Can you all see me? Excellent. So, yeah, I gave the hints last week. Can you all hear me clearly? I see that we got a couple people in the watching, in the viewers. So let me know if the audio is good. This is the first time I'm doing a stream with my headphones by myself, so just want to make sure everything is good. And if not, I'll just unplug the headphones. Guess I'm the only one I can see. Can you hear me, though, Vanja? So, yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Can you hear me? So, yes, the hints for this week were Solomon Grundy and autism. Now, there was also, okay, thank you, Vanja. There was also the hint Ben Affleck. And I believe I gave a hint on Twitter, which was a final hint. So I'm pretty sure people could guess. Now, before I continue, be sure to smash the like button or hit it. Make sure you tweet it out that the stream is live. Share it on Facebook. Get it out on social media. It really does help the channel. I'm still trying to get my hours up so I can possibly get monetized. So, yeah. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get into it. In 2016, a movie was released known as The Accountant. The movie stars Ben Affleck, Anna Kendrick, John Bernthal, J.K. Simmons, Cynthia Addai Robinson, Jeff Tambor, John Lithgow, and Allison Wright. And they were all part of an extraordinary journey of an autistic who is one of the best accountants in the world, but also one of the deadliest individuals you will ever know if you break his moral code. This movie was directed by Gavin O'Connor, and him and his production team I have got to give insane amounts of credit to, because this guy did his homework. This guy brought in professionals and had Ben Affleck meeting with people who were special needs, who were autistic and on the spectrum, Asperger's, and many of them, so that he could actually understand what a daily life or a day in the life of these people are. And yes, you have the savants who excel in many or in one area or another. You have the low functioning autistics who require daily care. You have the high functioning autistics that have the limitation of autism, but also are able to lead normal lives, or for the most part, as normal as they can get. You have the people who are just on the spectrum, who have some of the traits, but not all of them, to really give a diagnostic that they are indeed autistic. Me, I have traits of autism. I wouldn't say that I am diagnosed autistic, though. I do have a stepbrother who is medium high functioning. He is a great kid. He is he's very well known in the town we live near, and a lot of people care for him. A lot of people like him. He's a nice kid. So yes, this movie does really give a great representation of autism and autistic people, and whether or not care in a sensory friendly environment is really the best idea, or is it one that is not arming them to be able to handle the rigors of the real world. So, kicking off the movie, it's a scene that is revisited throughout the movie at the Ravenite, or it's a place called the Ravenite. It's a diner where where Christian Wolf, who is Jeff or Ben Affleck's character, he kills a mobster. J.K. Simmons is a treasury agent, and we are then introduced to Christian Wolf as a child. After it gets to a certain part of the scene, you see a gun going to the back of, or the shadow of a gun going to the back of JK's head, and then we go back in time to Christian Wolf as a child. Now, Christian Wolf obviously is not his real name. We see that he is preparing a puzzle. He rocks back and forth, and you hear a neurologist who started this institute by himself. It's the Harbor something. Let's see here. And yes, we also see that, or it's the Harbor Neuroscience in Hanover, New Hampshire, and this scene is in 1989. Now, we see that young Christian Wolf is also doing the puzzle, but he's also going back and forth. He has his own stims. They call it stimming or self-stimulation, where he goes and goes to work on the puzzle. He's also rocking and whatnot. That's that's a way of, or they don't really know whether it is something that comforts them or whether it is something that they just do. They honestly do not have a clear answer for that. Where we will tap our fingernail or tap our nails on the desk, he rocks back and forth. And they explain he only wears one shirt. His best friend is his brother. He won't let anybody touch him. Overstimulation of an autistic person can give them what I call freakouts, where if they are overstimulated, they can get extremely uncomfortable and they can react sometimes, yes, violently, which shows in this film. Christian Wolf has a form of autism which he has the compulsion, not so much an impulse, but a compulsion to finish tasks that he undertakes, or that once he starts them, he needs to see them all the way through. Otherwise, his mind cannot process or cannot leave that task. It is called an exceptionally narrow focus. He is reciting the tale of Solomon Grundy, and it looks like I'm getting low internet. Just let me know if everybody can hear me clearly, because it's showing that I have low internet or an unstable connection. It says, where's my phone? Let me see if turning off the Wi-Fi on my phone will help. And get rid of that. There, seems to have done the job. So yes, he has the narrow focus. He is reciting the tale of Solomon Grundy, and the tale of Solomon Grundy, it goes, Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday, christened on Tuesday, married on Wednesday, took ill on Thursday, or sick on Thursday, grew worse on Friday, died on Saturday, buried on Sunday, and that was the end of Solomon Grundy. He recites this over and over and over verbally to help calm himself down. Another thing that some autistics cannot handle is a lot of rapid change. That's actually one of the things that I have a problem with. A rapid change to me is extremely stressful. When I was moving from one place to another, it really bothers me. It gets me stressed out. I have to change my entire freaking plan. I have to change my entire freaking schedule. I have to change everything. And yes, to some people may say that's normal with many people. For me, it is so stressful that I can literally hear my own freaking heart in my ears. That's how it is for some people who are autistic who cannot handle rapid change. Or because there is a moment in this movie where his mother leaves. That is taking him away from a comfort. He or her mother or his mother cannot handle it, which we will get later on into the film. Now, as the husband and the mother, or the father and mother, are talking about Christian, and the neuroscientist is going over his, or what things, or the explanations and whatnot, he is doing a puzzle, and you also see a little girl. Her name is Justine, and she is also autistic, but she has a lower form of autism, meaning she is permanently dependent. She's a non-consenting adult, as they would call it, but she also does have a level of intellect that we figure out about later on. Now, when the neuroscientist is offering it to let his son, or to let Christian stay there completely free over the summer to help learn at his level, at a level or in a sensory friendly environment, the father's like, absolutely not. If he is afraid of, or if loud noises and bright lights scare him or make him uncomfortable, he needs more of it, not less, because the world is not a friendly place. It is not going to bend to his will every time. He needs to understand how to get used to it. He needs, or that, and he then asks him, or doctor, in your professional opinion, can our son lead a normal life? And he asks, define normal. And during this time of the conversation, you see that Christian is becoming agitated. His brother is watching him, and there's one piece of that puzzle that he was doing that's missing, and he is absolutely freaking out. You see him screaming, I need to finish, I need to finish, I need to finish. And his brother does start looking for the other, or the last piece, but also Christian starts reciting the Solomon Grundy. And when you see the final piece, it's right next, just out of his eyesight. Justine picks it up, and she's very uncomfortable, so she's trying to hand it to him. She's crouched like this, and he sees that she is doing him a kindness. He takes it and he finishes the puzzle. Now, what is amazing about how quickly he does this puzzle, that's not even the amazing part. He did this puzzle upside down. Imagine that. He is so good at puzzles. He did this one upside down. It's the famous picture of Muhammad Ali standing above his opponent in the ring with his arm and glove up like this, looking down at his opponent. And he did that completely backward. The puzzle was upside down and backward. So, yeah. So then you see the title sequence that says The Accountant. And hello, Birch Trisket, good to see you. And Fierce Apathetic Black Queen, good to see you. And that is actually a very cool thing that I really liked about this movie. It shows that this, or a lot of characters nowadays, especially female characters nowadays, they're not, or people don't like to see them absolute perfect, kind of like Rey from Star Wars. Well, a great character is one that has some sort of limitation or flaw. Christian Wolf has many flaws because of the autism that he has. However, he does not let those flaws limit him to what he can do. We then see later on he is indeed an accountant. He is helping a farmer's family that is a farmer and his wife, where they are kind of in trouble with the IRS. They are having a hard time struggling with taxes. And so he notices the necklace that the wife is wearing. And she's like, "Do you like it?" Not particularly, no. He's very blunt. That is something that is also an autistic trait, which is they don't know how to be subtle. They have a hard time taking into consideration other people's feelings. They will tell you flat out what they feel. They do not, it's not that they don't care. They do not understand that their level of bluntness can sometimes make people uncomfortable. They can't process that information. A lot of what makes characters great is their limits. Exactly. Now, one of the great things about this film is that he has limits. He has pain limits. He's not a Superman. You see him do some amazing things in this movie. And for somebody who has a high or a form of autism, it's not, or it doesn't really limit him in some of the things that he undertakes. As an accountant, he is a savant in math. So being an accountant works for him. It is the best thing for him. And so when he sees that necklace, he's like, "Did you make it yourself? Do you sell them?" "Well, you may have what the IRS calls a home-based business. It would be good if you could tell me exactly how, or the square feet of your office." And she's like, "I just do it in." So he's kind of trying to give them hints, which the husband eventually catches up on. And he's like, "How big is your wife's office?" Which is the dining room. And he's like, 200 square feet. And he's like, he's like trying to do that. And then he goes like this to try to, or to let him know, go higher. 300 square feet. Okay. And where do you get the materials for your business? And she's like, "I just zipped down to the store and I used a truck, the company truck." He manages to do this level of accounting for them that puts them back into the green zone with their taxes. But you also find out later that he's not just an accountant for smaller or for the everyday working people. This dude does accounting for some of the most dangerous people in the world, which is in the next scene. It explains. And so indeed, or we are then brought to DC. We are introduced to J.K. Simmons' character, Ray King, and Medina, which is Cynthia Dye Robinson's character. She goes into the Treasury Director's office, and he's talking with somebody on the phone who's yelling at him and whatnot. He's like, "You are way outside of your purview. Stop talking. I want this, this, and this, and this. Otherwise, you're going to find out that you're in a lot of trouble." So then he is basically giving her a job interview. He's like, "Analyst, analyst, analyst. You should, or with this record, you should be an agent by now." And she's like, I fit more as an analyst." "Well, you're a liar, Agent Medina." And he goes into her sealed juvenile records, where she was busted for attempted murder and whatnot, possession of controlled substances and such. And he shows her photo, her mugshot, and he's like, also they show a picture down by her lower abdomen. He's like, "Is that a 9mm?" Which is a gun. And she's like, 45. And she gets up to leave, and he's like, "You better sit your ass down. This is a very important moment for you. Make a good choice." So she sits down. She realizes she's fucked. You cannot lie on a federal application. That's a federal offense. You do prison time for that. She did. He's giving her a chance. Now, before I continue, I do want to say hello to the chat. Again, Nerd with a Cigar, good to see you. Yes, I am live. And Bertz, you got to go for a bit. You'll be back in half an hour. Okay, I should still be on. This will probably take a bit because I do want to go over certain scenes in more detail than others. A lot of what makes characters great is their limits. Yep. So, yes, I am reviewing for Nerd with a Cigar the movie The Accountant with Ben Affleck. Now, the blackmail in this, because lying on a federal application, she is tasked with finding an accountant, somebody who has cooked and cleaned books of cartels, mob enforcers, some of the most dangerous people in the world. He's has an alias, Carl Gauss, Lou Carroll, and they call, or so many people refer to him simply as the accountant, our accountant, an accountant, the accountant. And hello, Mike Jackson. Good to see you. And yes, this movie is indeed a great movie. It does have its flaws, but honestly, if you are engrossed in the movie enough, you see that the flaws don't really matter. Now, he has her go through pictures of some of these arrests that were very high profile and whatnot. And we also are cut back to the family with Christian Wolf, and they're so thankful that he has helped them that he's like, if you ever want to come out fishing by the ranch sometime, we got great, you could bring in all sorts of stuff. He's like, I don't fish, I shoot. Well, good places are out there for plinking. When he shoots, or when he's saying that he shoots, he doesn't just go out with a rifle or with a AR-15 for target practice. He shoots with a 50 cal, a Barrett 50 cal. And that's his therapy, or that's somewhat of his therapy. And I absolutely love it when we get to that scene too. We're then cut back to Medina, who is going over this stuff, and he's like, I'm retiring in a few months. I just want to find out who this guy is. And by the end of the month, one of two things will have happened. We find out who, or resolution of this case, or we update your photo, showing or reminding her that her very future depends on finding the accountant. And we also, or it will show, this movie is great in showing the steps that she takes in order to find out who this man is. So we are then cut to Christian Wolf going back home, and his routine is so perfect, with it right down to the perfect timing of his garage door opening, to him parking perfectly in his garage to where his truck can fit perfectly. He has one plate, one fork, one knife, and one spoon, 3 pans, one spatula, the OC, or which contributes to the OCD nature of his autism. At night, he does a therapy for his autism where he plays loud music and he puts on a flasher, which is a strobe light that flashes and can be adjusted to do different frequencies of flashing. And he rubs a wooden rod up and down the hard part of his shin, I'm guessing to smooth out to help smooth out blood flow, which is a pretty cool thing to do. I mean, especially if you have blood clots in your leg. And the old couple in the movie, yes, the old couple in the movie is indeed it. They are perfectly cast because the woman is such a kind-hearted woman, and he is such a happy-go-lucky guy, and they do play those parts very well, the actor and actress. Now, we see a flashback to while he is going through this, where he is listening to the loud music and to the strobing light. And we see the flashback of his mother leaving. He is freaking out. His brother, or his older brother, is watching as his mother and father are arguing outside. And this does lead to resentment over her leaving. His older brother is very angry that she chose to run away from this. And he's like, just don't go anywhere yet. Hold on, because he hears that his son is now breaking things. He's picking up Christmas ornaments or Christmas statues, and he's busting them up. He's kicking holes in the wall. He is freaking out because he doesn't understand why his mother is leaving. It is outside of his comfort. He doesn't understand, and he keeps on screaming, "Why is mom leaving? Mom, why are you leaving? Why is mom leaving?" He doesn't understand. And so his father comes in looking for him and manages to get a hold around him and tells him, recite Solomon Grundy. And he starts having and while he's holding his son, you can see the care in his father's eyes. This father is indeed a freaking hard ass in this movie. You honestly kind of hate the dad with some of the methods that he does in order to train his son. Both of them, in fact. But in this scene, the look on his face where he's trying to get his son to calm down, the worry, the love that he has for his son, having him recite Solomon Grundy, and while his father is doing this, the mother or his brother, Braxton, looks out, and she's looking in. Well, the son flips off the mom. He's like, and so she just gets in into the taxi and rides off. She abandoned them. And so he then looks back at his brother, who is starting to calm down, and after he finishes the nursery rhyme, his father's like, okay, now do it again and keep going. And then we're brought back after he's calm, and we see that like 17 or 18 minutes has passed, and he takes a small pill for his medication. And then we see him out shooting at the farm. And he's shooting the Barrett 50 cal. And the melons have the emotional spectrum faces, which there are 6 emotional spectrum faces that we see on the refrigerator at the Neuro Harbor Science guy's house in the beginning of the movie. We also see that he has the same that same picture of the different spectrums in his own, or in one of his, or in his Airstream trailer. Now, I also love how he's out there shooting, and the guy, or the old man, has his binoculars, and he's like, that's gotta be like or about a mile out. Not on my best day. Boom. And you see one of the melons pop, then you see the other 2 pop. He has 3 different emotions that were on the melon. One was happy, one was frazzled, and one was indifferent, I believe. And so he then turns his binoculars over, and Christian's waves to him. And he's kind of surprised that, wow, this guy's a pretty good shooter, you know? And it really is a nice little scene. And then we see him go to the storage unit where he keeps a motorhome that contains money, weapons, a motorcycle, a Renoir, a Pollock, paintings of an extreme high expensive variety. And the Pollock that you see that he looks up at is worth $140 million, folks. There's a painting in that movie that's worth $140 million. Also, you notice that there are coins. He has gold coins in here. So there have been speculations that the accountant is actually in the same universe as John Wick. If that was something that was actually true, that would actually be pretty cool if if John Wick and the accountant were all part of the same universe. I mean, just imagine if the accountant was tasked with eliminating John Wick, or if John Wick was just one of the accountants, or if the accountant was just an accountant for the high table. That would be interesting too. But anyway, we see that he has baseball cards. He has expensive comics that are in plastic, unread, untouched, paintings, all sorts of alternative payments for his job as an accountant. And as he's laying back, looking up at the Pollock, we see the flashback of a time where he was in jail with Jeffrey Tambor's character, Francis Silverberg. And Francis is teaching him inflections, identity, or how to identify the tone of voices, the different emotions that people are feeling by listening to their voice or identifying their body language. And I like how he does get a little bit annoyed with him. He's like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get out of here. And he's like, well, you're right, Francis. Statistically speaking, he's like, okay, no. I've been teaching you this for a while. You got to learn. He's like, you're frustrated. What? You're frustrated. There you go. And so he then has him reciting names of the different clients in which he's cleaned books for. And he's telling him, if you go down this road, or you can be an accountant for a major firm or something, you can rake in like $50,000 a year. That's a good life. But if you go down this road, you can't make the same mistakes I did. You got to keep on the move. You keep your circle very small. Find one person you can trust. And it is so freaking great. So there's also the mention of the new handler. And we find out later that the handler turns out to be J.K. Simmons' character, Ray King. So we're then back into the present, and we hear him on the phone with a woman that's a digital voice, caring, nurturing, and British. And she calls him Dreamboat, the nickname Dreamboat. And she's trying to sell the Renoir. And she's like, the Pollock can move. And he's like, just the Renoir. He doesn't want to let go of the Pollock. So he's like, just a Renoir, drop the price. And she's like, good. Or how about we try, there's chatter about you, and not the good kind. Dangerous people are looking for you. And I want you safe. I want you secure and whatnot. So they choose to go do an accounting job for Living Robotics. And he goes to work with them to uncook the books, to leak-proof them, because a junior accountant found a discrepancy, which is why his services were requested through another person who he helped do business with. We then cut to Medina, who is tracking the aliases and finding out that they're the names of famous mathematicians online. So she looks at the photos because she's not getting anywhere, and she asks for a facial mapping request. And then we cut to John Lithgow, who is the founder of Living Robotics, Lamar, or his name is Lamar, and he's talking with the accountant, Ben Affleck's character. Now, John Lithgow, you see that he is a nice character in this movie until you find out he may not be that nice. The acting in this film is really top-notch because they really do show that there are certain things going on that you don't want or write out like that talked about or shown. So then after he's talking about that he'll find the leak and he'll plug the leak and fix the problem, we then go to Zurich and we meet, this John Bernthal, who we all know of Punisher fame. And he's roughing up this rich prick. And I love his acting in this, where he works for a private security force and his client hired him to rough up the guy for shorting stocks in different companies. And the way that he does it, he's like, I'm an avid reader of the journal. I expect to see your cooperation reflected there. Are we good? Yeah, we're good. And he's beating the hell out of this guy. He freaking causes the guy to have to get in through the passenger side because he parks the car like this freaking close to the driver's side. And Bernthal, we don't realize that later, is a character that is known to the accountant. Now, we then find that Wolf is going into Living Robotics to begin his work. Anna Kendrick plays the junior accountant, and her attempts at socializing with him are funny, but also the awkwardness in this scene is very funny, and it's kind of fun to watch. And it's like, she doesn't know that he's autistic, so she's trying to. She's like, would you like to get lunch? And he's like, I brought my own lunch. And she's like, okay, well, if you have any questions, I have no questions. And she's like, okay, well, I'll let you get to work. Yes, thank you. It's just so freaking hilarious because he wants to get to work. He really wants to do it. This is where he is in his element. One of his elements. And so he gets like 5 or 6 black markers, 5 or 6 red markers, and he lays them out perfectly. And you see the zoom in. The cinematography for this, or for these moments, are great. And he gets back to his stems and he gets to work. And you see him just tossing the markers in all of them, or the different ones that are spent, landing into the trash bin. You see that he is going all over the windows of this entire office, going over all of the last 15 years of this business's books to find the leak. And he does it all night. In one night, he freaking finds the problems. And it is so freaking great. He goes out for lunch, the awkward lunch outside. And you see that he has a thermos that has a dent in it. And Anna Kendrick tries interacting with him out there again. And it's a nice little scene, but it's also awkward. But then he gets back to work, and it is just such a great scene. We then are cut to Medina listening to audio, or an audio file that she got from the file of looking into him, and where these guys are talking to him, and she listens to, or she switches the different levels of the audio, and she hears the recitement of the Solomon Grundy rhyme. So the next scene shows that CW, or Christian Wolf, CW, finds that there was 61,679,000 and some change that was missing. And Charlotte, Lamont's sister, or not Charlotte, but Rita, rather. Charlotte, I don't know why I came up with Charlotte. Or she's not happy about this. And the other guy, the bald guy, that his name is Ed, he's the one skimming the money, but we learn later that he puts it back. Braxton is at Ed's house, and he's setting up a suicide by his insulin overdose. And I love how John Bernthal freaking tells this guy how it is. He's like, now, here's the thing, Ed. You're going to introduce your own insulin overdose, your own accidental death. You have a nice, cushy insurance policy. Your family will be just fine. But if you refuse, well, I'm gonna have to smack you around. You're gonna whimper. Your wife is gonna wake up, and then I'm gonna have to rock and roll a home invasion, violate or shoot, kill you all, violate your wife in all different manner, and burn the place to the ground. And this clearly upsets the guy, and he's like, Ed, nobody's gonna violate your wife. Sometimes they say shit out loud to sample and to basically sample it. And he's like, however, I will park a 45 in a brain pan. He's that blunt. And he's like, make a choice, Ed. Or make a choice, sir. And so Ed is now dead. And we see Christian Wolf going in. Now, we have seen him in his element. This is a wonderful part of seeing him uncomfortable as an adult. We've seen him as a child with his freakouts. We've seen him how violent he can get. Well, now as an adult, he's returning back to the office. He's seeing that people are scrubbing the numbers. He's like, wait, please stop doing that. I need to finish. He finds out that the guy who's skimming the money is dead. And Lamar, John Lithgow's character, he's like, here's your payment for services. I hope we never meet, sir. You are a reminder of why my friend is dead. He knew he was diabetic. He knew how to check his own blood sugar and whatnot. So I'm responsible for my best friend's death. And Wolf is pleading with him, please, you have to let me finish. And he's like, you are finished. But Christian Wolf, with his autism, he can't understand that he's not finished the job. He wants to finish or it's not so much of a want, he needs to finish. And that is one of the best things about this. We see that he is unable to understand what is going on. And I love when Anna Kendrick comes in, she's like, do you really think that Ed killed himself? And he tells her, it is very hard for me to interpret why people do what they do. And then he continues his small freak out. And we see that because of all of this, he is completely off balance. And it's reflected in how his daily routine, how he parks his car, how he does his therapy at night. It's off. He pulls up to his garage too quickly. He has to wait. He pulls in or not enough where the garage door comes down on his truck, and then he pulls forward and he too much and ends up going into the wall. We see that he's trying to do the therapy on his leg and he can't, or he can't understand, or he doesn't, or as he's going through this, he starts hitting his leg with the rod that he uses to keep his leg or the blood flow in his legs smooth. And he throws his pills. He then goes to pick them up because he kind of needs those pills and whatnot. And he tries turning up the frequency of the flashing light. He cranks the music. He's trying to get back his equilibrium, and he can't because he is still very much off balance. And we also go to how they start following him, and we then see another the two guys that were with Braxton when he killed Ed, or when Ed killed himself, are now following Christian Wolf. So they also go to menace the farmer and his wife. We then get to a flashback, or we see a flashback before that scene where he's menacing, or where the family's being menaced, where he's training in Jakarta as a kid with or with a martial arts instructor, and his father or this guy knocks the kids on their asses. He's smacking them. These kids are bleeding, and he's like, enough. And so he wants to know his son's limits. So he's like, aggression properly channeled can be a useful tool, but it requires peeling back several layers of yourself. And he tells his son, get up. And his son is learning all the different languages as he is going around the world with his father. He learns essentially, or he tells his sensei, I can keep going. Don't hold back. His brother is also there with him to learn. And then we're back with the family of the farmer getting menaced by these two guys. And it's like, just call the guy in. Now, Christian was laying out in his truck reminiscing when this happens, and he had, or his the melons had no, at first, no, or two eyes, but no mouth. So he didn't know what he was feeling. But he did immediately pick up on something being wrong in the house. And when she goes to call him, you see the three melons have happy faces, 3 happy faces. Wolf is very happy. So when he's listening to her cry or calling out his name, he can understand the inflection in her voice that she is under a lot of stress. So while she calls him, he uses his 50 cal to blow off the head of the guy that is holding the gun to her head. And the other guy, who had a bald head with a big-ass beard, he's like, what the hell is going on? Okay, she's coming with me. And he's about to go out to his own car. You see, boom, boom. I like how they do the sound in this film, where it shows that the bullet was fired and the sound hasn't caught up to the bullet in motion. That is also another great thing about this movie. They actually show the impact of the bullet before you hear the frickin' muzzle expelling the sound. So he's like, okay, the car that we just came in is taken out. We're going to take a truck. And so they're driving out. He comes out. He has a 50 cal up. Boom. Shoots the front of the truck to basically take it or make it so it can't drive as easily. He starts running as the other guy starts shooting. And the husband starts or tries to wrestle the guy with a gun. Now, you think that this guy or that the husband might get killed because this guy's now trying to bring the gun toward the husband's head. So it's now a race against time. Will Christian get there in time? Well, he does get in the truck, and he knees out the back of the truck window, pulls the guy out. The husband is now free, and he slams on the brake. They both fall over the truck, and we see the fun or the fight between these guys. The bald guy pulls a freaking knife. Christian Wolf pulls out his belt and first whips the dude right in the freaking face, and then blocks the flourishes and whatnot and flips him over. And he's like, what the fuck? And then he wraps the guy's arm, wraps it around his throat, steps over it so that he has the grip of the belt underneath or under him between his legs. And he's like, when I say the name of your employer, say yes. Practice. Yes. And he's like, Gambino or Juarez, Gambino. He goes over several different names. Do you understand the rules? And so he's like, left pocket. He pulls out a card and hands it to Christian. Kill you both. That's all I know. And it's Dana Cummings, Anna Kendrick's character. So then he pulls all the way, snapping the guy's neck, killing him. And during this whole time, the farmer family, husband and wife, in the truck, are looking at him doing this. And so he's like, or he realizes that shit's gone sideways now. He gives one last look at the family, and he's like, and then he walks off. Now, knowing who Christian Wolf is, chances are after this movie was done, he sent money to the family to pay for the truck. This dude has a lot of money. He's a freaking millionaire. He probably sent to pay money for the truck as well as the cleanup for the house. I mean, Christian Wolf's not a monster. But even though that's not shown, it is most likely implied that he would do that. Now, he's driving like a maniac, calling the British chick or the British girl who calls him Dreamboat. And he's like, kill Christian Wolf, or she's like, virus to Triple Z, wipe everything. All right, I'm in the DOT right now. I have 2 names. And he's like, Boole, or 2 mathematicians, one of the last name of Boole. He's like, Boole, obviously, silly of me. What else can I do for you? Moment of silence. She is not your problem. The voice is telling him, she's not your problem. Address and phone number, please. And she kind of continues to remind, it's like, you shouldn't be putting yourself at risk for her. I want you safe and whatnot. And he's like, she doesn't deserve to be killed for what she knows, you know? So he goes to save Dana. Now, the reason why, another way that I think that this movie is very much tied in with the John Wick series, if you look at how Christian Wolf uses his pistol, short, inward, and when he shoots somebody, he always puts a headshot into the person, or to ensure that there is a kill. What do we know John Wick to do? Every time he kills somebody with a gun, what's the one thing he does to ensure it? Headshot. I mean, there are a lot of freaking parallels here, folks. It's why I did my very first versus stream of The Accountant versus John Wick. So, when he goes to, he then rescues Dana, where professional killers were there to kill him. And while he rescues her, and we see Brax arriving at arriving from an airport. He's like, what? They're both dead. How are these guys having problems killing an accountant? What did he do? Hit him with a math machine? I'll take care of, all right, just give me the address. I'll take care of the accountant myself. So now it's on. We got the professional killer versus Christian Wolf, who's going to win, you know? Well, he's now hiding Dana at a very luxurious hotel, gets her, or before that, he takes her to the motorhome where she's seeing all the weapons. He tells her to wait outside. She goes in because, well, kind of taking too long. She sees everything in the house, including the freaking signed, authentic Anakin Skywalker lightsaber that he has, which is pretty cool, by the way. I wish I had one of those. But anyway, she's like, why are you prepared for this? Why do you know all this? Why do you do all this? And she can't understand. And she's like, do you live here or something? No, I live in a house. I keep everything I care for here. That would be weird if I lived here. And she's like, sarcasm? Is that sarcasm? No, it's not sarcasm. It's irritation. I don't do sarcasm. And Cannoli Sasquatch, good to see you. So she takes him to the hotel where it's a nice touching scene. And I like that there is no romance between Christian Wolf and Dana. You see that she's getting ready to basically go to kiss him, but he now figures out what is going on with the task. He also explains to her, I have a high functioning form of autism. I have an extremely narrow focus, and I have trouble socializing with people even though I want to. and I have a hard time abandoning tasks once I undertake them. So essentially, he's now wanting to understand why they're going after Dana, who it is, and whatnot. And he's getting, or he finds out about remembers Crazy Eddie Anton and the Panama Pump. Well, Crazy Eddie Anton was stealing his own money, rewiring it around accounts, and putting it back into his money, which is the same thing that the Living Robotics was doing. Somebody stole $61 million and was putting it back. So when she's like, let's go to the police, he's like, the police can't protect you from somebody who can afford to return $61 million. So essentially, they realize that Crazy Eddie Antar or Crazy Eddie Anton, whichever one it is basically the cock block between Christian Wolf and Dana. However, I do like that it is implied that he wants to be able to have relationships with people. And there is that potential. However, it was stopped because of his autism. And it's kind of good because Anna Kendrick is how old? Let me look this up. How old is Anna Kendrick? She's 37 years old. Now, how old is Ben? 50 years old. So there's a freaking 12-year difference between these two people. So yeah, it would have kind of been a weird. So now Christian Wolf's going to see Rita, the woman who hired him for Living Robotics. Now, as he arrives, he sees Braxton, the person we know as Braxton, coming out of the house. And so he starts shadowing Braxton. Braxton immediately picks up that somebody's following him. So he pulls out his gun. He gets his suppressor set. And while he's doing this, so is Christian Wolf getting his gun out. But before Christian can get fully set, Braxton turns like this. Basically, I'm going to use my cane gun here. This is not functional, folks, so do not worry. It's not loaded. It can't be loaded. As you can see there, it's a fake gun. You also see right there that this is not a real gun. So he has the suppressor, and he has it up basically right to his chest. He turns just enough to fire 2 shots as a warning into a car, which sets off an alarm, and he's gone. Well, Christian Wolf then abandons that pursuit, goes to check up on Rita, which is the reason why he was there. She is dead with a bullet in her head. Somebody parked a 45 in a brain pan. So, yeah, now Christian Wolf sees a picture of Lamar and Rita. Christian Fandom Geek, good to see you. Thank you for smashing that like button, sir. And for everybody else, please smash the like button and share out the stream if you can. It does help get the channel noticed. I do appreciate all the support. Thank you so much. So, yes, it is an underrated movie. Now, we then see Medina finds out who Christian Wolf is. And she goes to several people to learn about the voice levels that this person probably has a neurodevelopmental disorder like Fragile X or God dang it. There. He's probably going to call back. I did tell him that the afternoon would be open because I usually stream at 10:30. But anyway, sorry about that, folks. So Medina goes to Ray with her findings, where she finds out that ZZZ Accounting, where Christian Wolf goes, she figures out that many of the mathematicians may have had autism, and she also finds out that when she's looking at different mugshots, she's not looking for one that has no or lack of eye contact. Now, this was something that she found out earlier in the film. Sorry about that. But then when she takes her finding, when she finally finds out who he is with the ZZZ accounting and the strip mall where all these different companies are fronts for his business, and they're all partnered to ZZZ accounting, and it's over $1 million plus in revenue. So, yeah, she goes to Ray and they go to Chicago. We're then brought to a flashback of France as Christian Wolf is getting ready to leave to finish and protect Dana. Now, we see that his father is teaching him to retaliate against those who wronged him. And in this case, back then, it was a group of kids. And he tries telling his father they're just glasses and it was an accident. And his father's telling him, there are many choices in this world. None of them are new. You can, or the oldest one, choosing to be a victim, or you can choose to stand up for yourself. And when he says they're only glasses, his father tells him, you think that if you ignore them, they'll stop bullying you, they'll stop hitting on you. Well, they fear you. You're different. You're not, and sooner or later, people fear different. Make a choice. And so Christian chooses to go out and attack these kids who had assaulted him. And his father also was saying, the next choice, loyalty. Family helps each other. Loyalty to family. So when Christian makes his move, the first hit on one of the kids, and he turns to go to the other kid, his father says go, and his brother Brax is out there going after the kid that decides to run away. And he is remembering this as he is getting ready to leave to go after the people who were after Dana. Now, we also see that the FBI has found Christian Wolf's house. The backyard is full of cameras. And it's like, this is definitely our guy. And it's like, all these cameras back here, but nothing in the front. Are we sure this is the guy? Anybody could just roll up in the front. How does he cover that? Well, that house has some guns, but also a freaking minigun. And also the thermos that he had with the dent in it was left behind. So it's like, holy shit. Because when they find the minigun, it's like, this thing is on a slide that could slide across the front window and be brought down to cover anybody who may be going after him. And I love what J.K. Simmons says. He's like, you don't see that every day. He's the one who does the State Farm insurance companies. Is like, yeah, I bet you don't see that in a State Farm commercial. I mean, it really is wonderful if they ever did that. It's like, minigun in the front, we cover that too. It'd be funny, you know? So then when the FBI guys leave, and we also see Braxton is securing Lamar's home, and we also see how he's talking with Lamar. He's like, I thought I told you to leave the company. You declined. So this is how we're going to do things. And when Lamar calls this guy a freak, he's like, he didn't make small talk. I knew it in his eyes. The freak was never going to let it go. Braxton hears this and he's like, freak. And he doesn't, or he knows his brother's kind of weird too. So yeah, he doesn't like that this guy's calling whoever this is a freak, you know? You see these subtle reactions with John Bernthal's character, and he plays it so freaking well. So then we go back to Medina and Ray King at the house, and they're going to basically sit on the house to see if Christian Wolf comes back. and they talk about Medina's past, her background, about how she saved her sister from a drug dealer. And what he's like, sounds rough. With all due respect, director, what the fuck do you know about rough? Men kill people, or men kill men for a bunch of different reasons. 9 people would die at the Ravenite that day, and he goes over the Ravenite. We're back at the Ravenite, and we find out that it is indeed Christian Wolf who was at the Ravenite, who killed little Tony Bazzano with a kick to the head, snapped his neck, essentially, with that kick. And he only did it once. And they'd taken something from this man. Well, the shadow of the gun from the beginning of the movie, we learn is Christian Wolf holding the gun on Ray King. And he asks, he's like, who is your employer, Ray King? I'm a treasury agent. Is that it? Kids, I got kids. Grown? Yes, they're grown. Were you a good dad, Ray King? And he's like, yes. Yes, I was. I've been a lousy agent and a weak man, but that I got right. The acting of J.K. Simmons in that moment where he is breaking down, saying that I did get right. I was a good dad. You really do feel for him in that moment. And we then learn that also in the scene, before I get further, it keeps Ben Affleck's face blurry. It keeps the focus on Ray King. That is another thing that I absolutely loved, to basically give you just a little bit of doubt. But it is basically confirmed that Christian Wolf is the guy that held the gun to Ray King. And he was about to quit. He put in his notice. He was about to quit the Treasury until he got a call from a certain British digital voice. Do you like puzzles, Ray King? Or Raymond King? So she's like, all those arrests, smoke and mirrors, the Juarez cartel, the Chinese or humans trafficking, all handed on a silver platter from the accountant. So then he's like, you wait your whole life, or you look back on your life waiting or thinking about the break you got, even though you didn't listen. Well, Francis Silverberg, which was Jeffrey Tambor's character, remember, he said he had a new handler, and he doesn't like this guy. Well, it was Ray King who was handling this guy, and he was a money legend. He was cooking the books for all different people. Well, he died, or he was assured witness protection when he got out. Well, he didn't, or Ray King didn't listen, and Francis died. Little Tony ended up killing him. So Medina asks him, so who is this guy? Prisoner 831, Fort Leavenworth. She's like, military prison. And he was basically transferred to use or to trace money from the Sinaloa cartels to help the Treasury figure out how they're getting their money around and whatnot. Well, he bunked with Francis. He learned everything he had. They were inseparable. You learn that Wolf and Francis were very tight in prison. Well, Christian asked a guard why wasn't Francis writing him after he got out. Well, the guard explained that what happened to Francis, and he did it in a way that infuriated Wolf. He snapped, and he caved the guy's head in with a thermos, a metal thermos, the one that he kept. He then broke out from a third-story window, and he took the thermos. Now, we also learn that he was originally arrested for assault at his mother's funeral. His father and him were in the military at the time, and they attended his mother's funeral, and a fight broke out there. and his father died by a cop that pulled a weapon on Christian, and the father got in the way, taking the bullet. Well, you see that Christian was being held down by several people, and he looks over at his father who's dead on the ground, and you see that he's unable to process that. So when we find out, and she's slowly learning, and she's like, were you a good dad, Ray King? Who was this general to this, or who was this man to this general? And he's like, I don't know. It's quite obvious that it was his son. His file is heavily redacted. Soldier 1 is what they call him. So he's like, why are you telling me this? Somebody has to be there to pick up the phone when she calls. I've been waiting for a call for a long time, and I haven't gotten one yet, but somebody has to be there when she calls. I have the why, or I now know who he is, and now I have the why. Somebody breaks his moral code. He went to kill Tony Bazzano because Tony Bazzano took something from him, took Francis from him. So yeah, he killed everybody in the Raven Knight that day, and he let Ray King live. And Ray King decided to extend his career with the help of the accountant. The accountant was giving his own clients away to the government. He was selling them out because he knew that they were extremely dangerous and that they were doing some illegal shit. He was essentially a whistleblower. And it's essentially a off-the-books deal that is going on between Ray King and the accountant. So he's like, he's asking Medina, I'm retiring in a few months, and somebody needs to continue this work. And she's like, no. He's a criminal, Ray. He has laundered money for the most dangerous people on the planet, and he's a killer. And he's like, believe me, I've wrestled with this myself over and over at weighing the two separate, or weighing the morals. One second. Sorry, had to sneeze. But anyway, we then hear the phone ring, and the acting in this scene, the entire scene where he is explaining it, J.K. Simmons just plays the damn role so well. And so does Cynthia Dye Robinson. She plays the role very well. And then we get the call from the Brit. And she's like, Agent Medina, tell Elliot Ness to get his feet off the furniture. He's not, or this isn't a barn. So now you know that they have eyes on the inside of the house too. And it is just so great. So then we go back to the house, or Lamar's house, because the voice also tells Medina, living robotics, write it down. And hold on, just going back into talking points. Excuse me. We're then at Lamar's house, and Christian Wolf has come for Lamar. And and Braxton's talking to Lamar, and he's like, how did he sound when he talked? Or you say he has an athletic build with short hair like mine, or short hair? And you're like, what difference does it make what he sounded like? And because when he called him a freak, Braxton wants to know exactly who he's talking about, so he has an idea of who he's dealing with, you know? And so, well, they're kind of interrupted when a high velocity round goes off outside and it's the 50 cal. Well, he's like, or he then shoots another guy, and they're trying to find out what's going on. And Wolf is holding another guy hostage. He's like, pulls to the left. You do better if you get yourself a superior ballistic coefficient. And as he's setting up his gun, he's like, I want the layout furniture, exits, entrances, go. And the guy's just looking at him and is like, okay, you're not going to get any help there. Well, everybody's setting up to look out the window, and Braxton's looking there too. And he's like, you ever see a match grade round traveling at 3,000 feet per second go through a window? Well, the one guy who has just about this much of his head out from this side here out the wind or in view takes a shot to the head from Christian Wolf. And when he says that and the guy gets shot, he's like, no one does. Everybody get down. And Christian Wolf takes his 50 cal and just empties the entire magazine into the house, basically stirring up the nest, so to speak. He then gets into the house, fighting off all the other people. He does take shots to it, or he does get injured. He gets a shot in his leg, or he gets shot in the leg. He gets shot in the shoulder. And after he's fought, or the one guy, the last guy that he fights before the big old pause is, or he takes his stun grenade, pulls the pin on the stun grenade, puts it in the guy's shirt, and then holds the guy to him. Now, the guy also has body armor, so doesn't Christian Wolf. But this is still going to hurt when you have a stun grenade go off against your chest, even though there's two things of body armor between it and you. Also, that guy is most likely dead because of the sheer impact of the stun grenade going off into his chest. So he's now tourniquet or using a tourniquet on his leg, and the whole place is still wired up with cameras that Braxton has, and he's looking at Wolf, and he starts to hear Wolf recite Solomon Grundy. And that's when he knows exactly who it is. And that's when we essentially now figure out exactly who Braxton is. Because he's like, oh my God. And or he doesn't say it out loud, but the look on his face, and when Christian gets to the end of it, they both say at the same time, and that was the end of Solomon Grundy. You now know that is Christian Wolf's brother. Braxton is Christian Wolf's brother. One of the things I really did like about the children in this movie, the ones that play the younger versions of John Bernthal and Ben Affleck's characters, are that they actually do look a little bit like the or Ben Affleck and John Bernthal, especially the kid who plays young Braxton. He looks very much like John Bernthal, or like he could age into John Bernthal. So when the last guy with a shotgun starts shooting at Christian, and Braxton's like, hey, stand down. The guy tells him, fuck off. So freaking Braxton comes down and blows the dude's head off right then and there. It's like, tell me to fuck off. I'm the one leading this goddamn unit, you motherfucker. And so Christian goes around, sees that it's his brother, and he's running it all through his head. Now, Lamar's watching all this. He's doesn't understand why the hell everybody's not trying to kill him or trying to kill Christian Wolf and whatnot. And he's like, what is this? He's like, you stay here. Shut up and stay here. So Lamar's watching this whole thing between Braxton. He's like, and he gets up, hello, Braxton. Don't do that. Don't stand there like, yeah, or like I haven't seen you for 10 years and you're coming at me like you just see me yesterday. I mean, what did I think you were going to be happy to see me? I guess I am happy. I need to finish. You should go. Oh, I should. Okay, I'll just go. But right now you're going to answer me something, or I'm going to ask you a question and you're going to give me an answer. And he starts going after his brother, and he pins his brother to the wall, choking with the arm up against his throat. Why would you go to that funeral? Why'd you and Pop go to that funeral? She left us. Did you not remember that? It's your fault that, or he starts throwing him around and puts him on the ground, and starts choking him. He's like, it's your fault, Pop is dead. You hear me? It's your fault. And Christian's like, I'm sorry, Braxton. And he's like, sorry doesn't cut it, you weird fuck. And the emotion in the acting in this scene is just so freaking strong. honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that award ceremonies fell to shit, this movie should have gotten awards. I'm just saying, this movie should have seriously gotten awards because the acting of Ben Affleck, the amount of freaking research he did, the amount of people, of autistic people that he has met and taken notes on and whatnot, in order to do this role, really shows the dedication, and it plays very well in this movie. And so when his brother is pinning him up against the wall again, he gets loose and he elbows his brother, and you see a bit of blood like right here across Braxton's face. And then he hits it, he tries wiping it, but they're still there. But then in another scene later on, the blood is gone. Doesn't show him wiping it away, but it's a small flaw in the film. Now he's like, "You gonna fight? How about now?" And you see Christian take it. He blocks a couple and he takes the shots to the face, and he's like stunned a little bit, and he's like, "Okay." And his brother tells him, "Fight right now, fight." And so Christian centers himself, and then when his brother goes at him again, he stops him, or he blocks and gets him right in the ribs. And so his brother goes at him again the same way. He blocks and grabs him by the throat, puts him down, puts a knee on his chest, pulls his gun, holding it to Braxton's head. And you see a face completely devoid of emotion in Christian Wolf's expression, one of slight irritation. So you know for a fact that if Braxton continued, there is a very small likelihood that Christian would kill him. Or that's how it looks. But Christian does pull up the gun. And now they're sitting on the ground with each other. And it's like, if you had to go see her, you call me. I'm your brother. I've always had your back. You don't call Pops, you call me. And he's like, "I'm sorry, Braxton." And he's like, "You and me here, what are the odds?" "Well, statistically speaking, for Christ's sake, man, it's rhetorical." "Really? I mean, really?" He's like, "Just saying." Well, Lamar's watching this whole freaking conversation and all of this happening, and he's just had enough. He's like, "Do you think what you do is important?" He goes on the whole freaking justification monologue. He's like, "Living robotics would have been worth billions on the public offerings. And or it would have helped people and whatnot. Why did I hire you? To leak proof your books, to make sure it was safe going public? Dana found a mistake and now you want to kill her." And he's like, "I'm fond of Dana, but she doesn't help people. I do. Me. Don't you know what that's like?" "Yes, I do." Bam. He just says, "Yes, I do." And then he just freaking parks a bullet right into John Lithgow's head. And the way that John Lithgow just falls over. And John Bernthal's look on his face is so freaking. It's like, what do I say to this? What the fuck? Well, you want to know what he said? "I've missed you." And freaking Christian, he looks at his brother. He's like, "Sorry, I've missed you." And he's like, "Man, I love you, brother." And he's like, "I love you too, Braxton, because you're my brother and I love you. Or I miss you too, Braxton." I mean, and this gets a small little chuckle out of Christian and a smile. And he's like, "You want to see each other in about a week?" Or he's like, "Name place and time, and I'll be there, man." He's like, "All right." Well, he's like, "How will I find you?" "I'll find you." I mean, it is such a great moment between those two, you know? I mean, the acting between Ben Affleck and John Bernthal was just so freaking great. That scene was just so freaking great. So then we get the press conference of Medina and the killing of Lamar and whatnot. And she's like, "I can't take credit for this investigation." And she's like, it was a team effort with long hours and a lot of investigation work, or a lot of hard work and long hours. So then we are back, or we're then back at Harbor Neuroscience, or which was the beginning of the movie with the guy that wanted to look after um, Christian. Well, this is many years later, and he's an older man, and it's a new child that's wandering the house who's autistic. He doesn't speak anymore and whatnot, and he finds an older Justine who is doing the same things. You know, it's the same girl from earlier on in the film who was doing the same things. And the couple whose kid finds her is like, uh, can she stay in here? Or the father's like, can she stay in here, Justine? And so she, thoughts on Call Jane movie. I'd actually have to see that movie, but I do want to finish this review first. But anyway, she then goes over to a computer, and the mother of the autistic child asks, how is Harbor funded? Well, we also learn when during the Treasury Agency investigation that $1,100,000 last year went to Harbor Neuroscience. So yeah, Christian Wolf has been the private donor for Harbor Neuroscience, and he paid for Justine's computer or digital translator. Well, when she fires that puppy up and types in, it's the same voice that Christian Wolf talks to on the phone. And she says to the child, hello, Dreamboat, shall we chat? And the child, who is essentially a mute, smiles and whatnot. And she smiles back. So you now know that this girl who's autistic as well, who doesn't speak, who has stimulation problems and whatnot, is a computer genius, a hacker who can go into any database. And the husband or the father of that little autistic boy is like, that computer that your daughter has, it's a BX30 or something, this and that. And he's like, water cooled, 12 core and whatnot. He's like, yeah, that's right. You're a software engineer. Why? Is that good? Good. Doc, she could backdoor the Pentagon with that thing. And it's a nice little thing. It's like, something tells me she already has. And so we then see the resolution of the character of Dana, where she's spackling the wall where the bullet impacts were. So she's covering that up. She gets a call at the door. She gets a package. Well, during the movie, during the little lunch sequence outside, she talks about how she hates the painting of dogs playing poker. Well, she receives that very painting, but she notices a small discrepancy. Now, she's originally an art major. And so she pulls a little bit on the discrepancy of the painting, and she pulls a little bit back, and she recognizes the Pollock that she saw in Christian Wolf's motorhome. And so she's like, and then she pulls it back, and she's like, oh my God. And it reveals that Christian left her the Pollock while he's driving out of town, basically just to disappear again. And I do like how there's a song at the end of the film, trying to leave something behind. It's a very nice song. And she puts up the Pollock, a $140 million painting, in her freaking living room, and she just sits down to look at it. Honestly, I'm not an art major, but when I look at that Pollock, it's like the dude just fucking scribbled paint all over the damn canvas, and this is somehow worth $140 million? How? Why? I don't get it, but whatever. It's a 140. I looked it up. It's a 140 million fucking dollar painting that she's just hung on her wall. And that's the end of the film. He's driving off. Now, this movie does have a little bit of continuity errors and certain things here and there. However, the movie, or the amount of research, the professional doctors that came in to be consultants on this film. The research of the actors or doing the research for these characters that they play, the ones who are autistic, Ben Affleck and what's her name, the one that played Justine, it shows the dedication that they had to play these characters. And I honestly, that does go towards objective quality. Objectively, this film is about an 8.5. There is a couple of small errors here and there, and those can honestly be overlooked for the most part. This movie is high quality. It shows a great story, good writing, great acting, good score. All of it is good, with a little bit of problems here and there, sure. And that's why it's an 8 to an 8.5 objectively. Subjectively, it is a 10 out of 10. This is one of my top favorite movies. When it comes to like top 10 or top 5, this one is up there. And honestly, moviegoer, same thing. If you like an action movie, and if you like a movie that shows a great story, this one is for you. It is one that I absolutely love. The Accountant is definitely a movie that people should watch to kind of even have a little bit of insight into an autistic mind, so to speak. And no autistic person, no two autistic people are the same. That is another thing that they really do hammer home in the making of featurettes of this movie. No two autistic people are exactly the same. Every one of them has a different level of developmental issues or restrictions or limitations. And some of them, or you will see some of them with similarities, but not 100% close or not 100% identical. And that is another thing that I really liked, that they showed that this is a person with autism who was forced and trained to get past certain triggering things or that can overstimulate one or a person. Me, I honestly, or if you blare your music and if I'm close and I catch on, or if I hear and it hurts my ears, I will physically react. I will do my best to get away from it because I cannot stand blaringly booming loud music. It physically hurts. It rattles my body. That and other things, like if it's extremely bright out, during the winter is hard for me somewhat because the sun is just reflecting off of the snow a lot, and I tend to stay away from that. It's not so much the same level of an autistic person, but it provides a lot of discomfort for me. I mean, it's not that I don't like being in sunlight. I absolutely have no problem being in sunlight. It's just that sometimes it does, or too much sunlight can just be very or uncomfortable, you know? That's why I stay in a lot. But anyway, this movie is one that I really did like, and I kind of identified in some ways with it. And I really do think that everybody should watch it. Anyway, thank you so much, folks, for tuning in. Fierce Apathetic Black Queen, Christian Phantom Geek, Cannoli Sasquatch, Fanja, Nerd with a Cigar, Alex versus Evil. You came in at just the end of it, so I'm giving shout outs. Thank you for coming in, Alex versus Evil. Mike Jackson, Nerd with a Cigar, Birch Trisket, and, well, myself. So, yeah, thank you to all who tuned in. If you like this video, please smash that like button, share it out so people can catch the replay. Or if you do feel like catching the replay, tell me in the comment section what was your thoughts on this movie. Did you like it? Did you not? What were your favorite parts of it? Let me know all the thoughts, folks. This has been Orange Hat Reviews. Stay humble. Oh, before I go, the hints for the next movie. Jeez. The hints for the next week's movie. JCVD and Bottom One. So if you can get those, do not spoil it in the comment section. Oh my gosh, I almost left without those hints. JCVD and bottom one. Do not give it away if you know it, but let me know what your guesses are on Twitter or Facebook if you friend me there. Anyway, now this has been Orange Hat Reviews. Stay humble.